So here we're going to look at another one of our trig rules. We're going to look at the cosine rule, but this time we're going to look at using it to help us find an angle. So when we want to use the cosine rule to find an angle, we know that the cosine of angle A is equal to the sides b squared plus c squared minus a squared all over 2 times b times c. And that is on the formula sheet, you don't have to remember that one. And it is also essentially just the formula from the other video that we've just rearranged to make the angle a bit the subject of the formula. Okay, so the one that we looked at yesterday in the other video was a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. All those bits are still in that formula, we've just rearranged it to now suit our need of finding the angle. Okay, what that tells us though is essentially if you know the length of 3 sides in the triangle, you can work out any of the angles. Okay, so we are going to have a wee go doing that just now. So the first example, we've got a triangle here, it's already labelled ABC. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my sides with this lowercase letters. So I've got little a, little b, and little c. So remember, each vertex gets a capital letter, and the side opposite that gets the lowercase letter. So I'm going to write down my formula. So I've got cos of a is equal to b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. Next, I'm going to sub in our numbers. So I've got 30 on the b side, so I've got 30 squared plus 20 squared minus 15 squared all over 2 times 30 times 20. Okay, and this is a good opportunity to have bought a scientific calculator because you can ask it to do all of this in one handy line. So 2 times 30 is 20, and that is going to give us 0.8958333333. Okay, that is quite clearly not the angle, and instead what we found is we found the cosine of the angle. Okay, so we've got the cosine of A is equal to that. I don't want the cosine of the angle, I just want the angle. Okay, so we need to do the inverse. So we've got to do the inverse cosine of that number, 0.895833. And this is where it's quite good if you can keep it up on your calculator screen, and what you can actually then just type in on your calculator should look something then like the inverse cos of your answer, and that way your calculator will keep all those trailing decimal places for you and keeps it a little bit more accurate. Okay, so we're going to do shift inverse cos, and that gives us an angle of 26.38, so we're going to round it to 4 degrees. So angle at A is 26.4 degrees. Okay, so doing another one, formula that I get given tells me that cos of A is equal to b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. I've written that down because that's how I get it on the formula sheet. The problem that I've got here is I've got different letters. Okay, so let's label our sides. So I've got little y, little n, and little r. And now we're going to change the letters in our formula to suit what it is I need. So I've got the cosine of, well, I want to find the angle at y. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I know that those letters, the capital letters match up, so where is the lowercase version of that one? Well, the little one was at the end, so I'm going to take away y squared. And then I know the other two can come in any order they want. So I'm going to have n squared plus r squared all over 2nr. They're just the other two sides from a triangle here. They don't really matter as much. So next, sub in our numbers. So I've got 23 squared plus 38 squared minus 25 squared all over 2 times 23 times 38. Again, this is where you're going to turn to your handy scientific calculator, and you're going to ask it to do all of these things in one fell swoop. Okay, if you don't have a scientific calculator or you're not sure how to use it, then you're going to have to work out your top line and then your bottom line and do a bit of division. So when we sort that out, we get 0.771167, and it carries on. Okay, again though, what we've done is we found the cos of y. We don't want the cosine of the angle, we just want the angle. And so in order to undo that and to get rid of it, we need to take the inverse. So y is going to be the inverse cosine of 0.771167. That number that we just worked out that's in our calculator. Again, what we want to do is try and keep it on the calculator so we can use the fact that it holds the answer to make this a little bit more accurate for us. And that gives us an angle of 39.5 degrees. Okay, so once we've got our triangle, if we know all three of the sides, we can work out any of the angles that are in it. And so in theory, I could now go on and work out the angle down there at n. What's going to happen is I'm going to have to rejig where the things are in my formula. Okay, so it's always a good idea, first time we're doing it, is to write down the formula the way that we give it to you in the formula sheet, and then match it up to where the bits are you're actually interested in the triangle. Okay, be careful with what letters they're using as well. Okay, the last few years when we've done stuff like this, they will still use the letters A, B and C, but they will put them in a different place just to try and confuse you. Okay, so make sure that you're putting them where they're meant to be in your formula.